Let me ask you something. Have you ever laid in bed at night, replaying a conversation from 5 years ago, wondering what you should have said, imagining 10 different futures, all of them bad? You're exhausted, but your brain won't shut up. And the worst part? You're not even solving anything. You're just stuck, thinking about thinking. That's overthinking. And if you're watching this video, chances are you don't overthink sometimes. You overthink everything. Today, I'm not going to tell you to just stop thinking. Instead, I'm going to show you why overthinking happens, why it feels impossible to escape, and practical tools that actually work, especially if you deal with anxiety or depression. Stay with me until the end, because one mindset shift I'll share later literally changes how your brain reacts to thoughts. Overthinking isn't intelligence. It's not being deep. It's not being careful. And it's definitely not you being broken. Overthinking is your brain trying to protect you and accidentally hurting you instead. If you're an overthinker, your mind doesn't feel like a place you live in. It feels like a place you're trapped in. You don't think thoughts. Thoughts happen to you. One moment you're fine, and the next moment your brain says, "Wait, remember that thing you did?" And suddenly your chest tightens, your stomach drops, and you're back there again, reliving it, rewording it, replaying it, punishing yourself for it. Psychologically, this is called rumination. Rumination is when your mind loops on the same thoughts, not to solve them, not to fix them, but to re-experience the emotion attached to them. That's why overthinking feels so exhausting. You're not tired because you're thinking too much. You're tired because you're emotionally reliving stress over and over again. And here's how it usually sounds in your head. What if I mess this up? Why did I say that? Why am I like this? What if they secretly hate me? What if I never become anything? What if my future goes wrong, and it's all my fault? And the cruel part is, none of these thoughts feel optional. They don't feel like ideas. They feel like warnings. Your brain truly believes it's helping you. It thinks, if I analyze this enough, if I replay it enough, if I imagine every worst-case scenario, then maybe I can stop the pain from happening again. But instead of protecting you, your mind is training you to expect pain everywhere. The brain believes it's preparing for danger, but what it's actually doing is rehearsing suffering. And this is important, so please hear this clearly. Overthinking is deeply connected to anxiety and depression. Not because you're weak, not because you can't handle life, but because your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. When your nervous system doesn't feel safe, your mind stays alert. And when the mind stays alert too long, it starts attacking you instead of protecting you. That's why even good moments feel tense. That's why happiness feels fragile. That's why peace feels temporary, like it could disappear at any second. Overthinking isn't a personality trait. It's a body that learned it had to stay ready. And the fact that you're watching this video right now tells me something important about you. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive. You're someone whose mind learned to survive and never learned how to rest. If you're an overthinker, you've already tried to fix this. You didn't just sit around doing nothing. You tried. You tried distracting yourself. You watched videos. You scrolled endlessly. You kept yourself busy, hoping the noise would drown out the thoughts. You tried forcing positive thinking. You told yourself, just be grateful. Other people have it worse. I should be happy. You tried minimizing it. You said, it's not a big deal. I'm overreacting. I just need to calm down. And none of it worked. Not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you were fighting the wrong battle. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It's a nervous system problem. When your nervous system feels unsafe, your brain goes into protection mode. It scans for danger, not just outside you, but inside you. Thoughts become alarms. Every memory becomes evidence. Every possibility becomes a threat. Every silence becomes rejection. Every mistake becomes proof that something is wrong with you. And here's the part nobody tells you. The more you fight the thoughts, the more your brain believes there must be danger. So it gets louder, faster, more intense. That's why distraction only works temporarily. The moment you stop, the thoughts come back, stronger. That's why positive affirmations feel fake, because your body doesn't feel safe enough to believe them. That's why just let it go feels impossible. Because your nervous system is screaming, if I let this go, something bad will happen. Overthinking doesn't feel optional. It feels necessary. Like if you stop thinking, you'll miss something, mess something up, lose control, or get hurt. That's why overthinkers feel trapped, not because they want to think this way, but because their body learned that staying alert was the only way to survive. So when someone says, just stop overthinking, your system hears, turn off your life support. That's why telling an overthinker to relax is like telling someone who's drowning to just breathe. They're not calm because they can't be. They're not dramatic. They're not weak. They're in survival mode, and survival mode doesn't respond to logic. And if you've ever felt frustrated with yourself for not being able to fix your mind, I want you to know this. There was never something wrong with you. Your nervous system did exactly what it learned to do. The good news is, if it learned this, it can also unlearn it. And in the next part, I'll show you why fighting thoughts keeps you stuck, and what actually starts to free you. Let me describe a few situations. And if any of these sound like you, I want you to know something right now. You're not alone, and you're not strange, because this used to be me. I wasn't always calm. I wasn't always clear-headed. I wasn't always okay. I used to live inside my head, and honestly, it was exhausting. You want to text someone, just a simple message. You type it. You read it again. You wonder, does this sound stupid? Does this sound desperate? Am I saying too much? Am I saying too little? So you delete it. Then you rewrite it. Then you stare at the screen, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and in that time, your heart rate goes up. Your chest feels tight. Your mind starts racing. Eventually, you don't send it at all. I did this more times than I can count, and every time I didn't send the message, I told myself, I'll do it later. But the truth was, I wasn't waiting for the right moment. I was waiting for the fear to disappear, and it never did. Someone replies differently than usual, shorter, slower, less emojis, and instantly, your brain decides, I did something wrong. Not, they might be busy. Not, they might be tired. No. Your mind goes straight to, they're upset with me. They're pulling away. I ruined it. I remember replaying conversations word by word, analyzing my tone, questioning my intentions, blaming myself for emotions I didn't even cause. It felt like I was always one mistake away from being rejected. Then there's the big stuff. A job opportunity, a relationship, a decision that could move your life forward. And instead of excitement, you feel pressure. You analyze every outcome. You imagine every failure. You ask yourself, what if I mess this up? What if I regret this? What if I'm not good enough? So you wait, and wait, and wait, until the opportunity quietly disappears. I've watched chances pass me by, not because I wasn't capable, but because I was afraid of choosing wrong. And here's the part I didn't understand back then. Overthinking doesn't make you safer. It doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't protect you from pain. It just keeps you frozen. I thought thinking more would give me control, but all it gave me was fear. What changed for me wasn't confidence. It wasn't motivation. It wasn't suddenly loving myself. It was realizing that waiting to feel ready was keeping me stuck. I didn't stop overthinking overnight, but I stopped letting it decide my life. And if you're watching this right now, feeling seen, feeling exposed, feeling like I just described your inner world, then stay with me. Because in this video, I'm going to show you what actually helped me move forward. Not by killing the thoughts, but by changing my relationship with them. I want to tell you something honest. I didn't wake up one day and suddenly stop overthinking. There was no miracle morning, no motivational quote, no moment where my mind finally went quiet. My turning point didn't come from thinking harder. It came from being too tired to keep fighting my mind. I remember one night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the same fears for the 100th time. And I felt this strange mix of panic and exhaustion, like my mind was running, but my body was done. That was the first time I realized something important. Fighting my thoughts was making everything worse. That's when things started to change. Slowly, gently, realistically. The first thing that helped me wasn't positive thinking. It was labeling. The moment I noticed my mind spiraling, instead of arguing with it, instead of trying to fix it, I would quietly say, "This is rumination." Not, "This thought is wrong." Not, "I shouldn't feel this way." Just, "This is my brain looping." That one sentence created space. Space between me and the thought. And for the first time, I realized something powerful. I wasn't the thought. I was the one watching the thought. That shift didn't erase anxiety, but it stopped me from drowning in it. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness around them. Overthinking feels uncontrollable because it has no boundaries, so I gave it some. I picked 15 minutes a day, same time, same place. That became my official worry window. During that time, I was allowed to think, overanalyze, write fears down, let my mind do its thing. But outside that window, when my brain tried to spiral, I'd say, "Not now. I'll think about this later." At first, my mind didn't like that. It pushed back. It got louder. But over time, something surprising happened. My brain learned, I don't need to scream to be heard. And the thoughts started losing urgency. Not disappearing, just becoming quieter, more manageable, less scary. This one changed everything for me. I used to believe I had to fix my thoughts first, then I could feel calm. But it works the opposite way. You cannot think your way out of overthinking. You have to signal safety to your body first. When my mind spiraled, I stopped sitting still. I stood up. I walked slowly. I focused on my breath. I stretched. Sometimes I just splashed cold water on my face. These weren't coping tricks. They were messages to my nervous system. Messages that said, I'm safe right now. And when the body softened, the mind followed. Calm isn't something you think yourself into. Calm is something you allow by regulating your body. Here's what I need you to understand. These tools didn't make me fearless. They made me free enough to move anyway. Overthinking didn't disappear. It just stopped running my life. I still get thoughts. I just don't obey them anymore. And if you're listening to this thinking, this sounds simple, but will it really work for me? I want you to know, I'm not sharing theory. I'm sharing what helped me step out of my own mind and back into my life. And next, I want to share the mindset shift that finally broke the power overthinking had over me. The one realization that changed how I respond to fear forever. This is the part that changed everything for me. Not instantly, not magically, but permanently. For the longest time, I believed something without ever questioning it. I believed that if a thought showed up in my mind, it must be important. It must be true. It must be solved. I treated every thought like an emergency, and that belief kept me trapped. Then one day I heard a sentence that felt uncomfortable at first, but slowly started to free me. You don't need to stop thoughts. You need to stop obeying them. That sentence sounds simple, but if you're an overthinker, it changes everything. Overthinkers don't struggle because they have thoughts. Everyone has thoughts. Overthinkers struggle because they believe their thoughts. Every what if feels like a warning. Every doubt feels like intuition. Every fear feels like wisdom. So when a thought says, don't do this, this will go wrong, you'll regret it, you're not ready, you listen. Not because you want to, but because your brain learned that listening meant staying safe. What finally helped me was realizing this: thoughts are suggestions, not commands, not truths. Your mind throws out ideas constantly, some helpful, some useless, some outdated, some driven by fear. And you don't have to accept every suggestion just because it appears. The goal isn't to argue with thoughts. The goal is to let them exist without letting them decide. Here's what I started doing. When my mind said, "What if everything goes wrong?" I didn't fight it. I didn't reassure it. I didn't try to replace it with positivity. I simply responded with, "Maybe, but I'm allowed to live anyway." That response doesn't try to control the future. It doesn't demand certainty. It doesn't promise safety. It gives permission. Permission to move. Permission to choose. Permission to live without guarantees. Overthinking feeds on one thing: the belief that you must feel certain before you act. But certainty never comes, so life gets postponed. When you stop waiting for certainty and start allowing uncertainty, the grip loosens. Freedom isn't the absence of anxiety. Freedom is the willingness to act with anxiety. Courage isn't calm. Courage is movement despite discomfort. It looks like sending the text even with a racing heart. It looks like applying for the job while doubting yourself. It looks like choosing progress over perfect timing. And no, it doesn't feel amazing at first. But something changes after. You stop being afraid of your thoughts. And when thoughts lose their power, your life gets louder than your mind. You don't need to become fearless to move forward. You don't need confidence to take action. You don't need your mind's permission to live. You've been waiting for the fear to leave. But freedom starts when you stop waiting. And in the next part, I want to talk directly to those of you who are dealing with anxiety or depression. Because healing doesn't mean silence in your mind. It means peace with the noise. If you're struggling with anxiety or depression, I want you to hear this part very clearly. Not quickly, not emotionally rushed. Clearly. Overthinking is not a character flaw. It's not a weakness. It's not something that means you're broken. Overthinking is a learned pattern, and anything learned can be unlearned. Your mind didn't choose this randomly. It learned to think this way because at some point in your life, being alert felt safer than being relaxed. Your brain adapted. It tried to protect you. And even though it hurts now, that came from survival, not failure. Healing does not mean your mind becomes silent. Healing does not mean you never feel anxious again. Healing does not mean you suddenly become confident and fearless. Healing means your thoughts lose power over your actions. You may still feel anxiety, but it no longer controls your decisions. You may still have low days, but they don't convince you that you're hopeless. You may still overthink, but you don't spiral for hours anymore. Progress isn't dramatic. It's quiet, subtle, easy to miss if you don't know what to look for. Progress looks like fewer spirals, not zero spirals. Faster recovery, not constant calm. More self-compassion, less self-punishment. It looks like noticing you're spiraling and coming back a little sooner. It looks like being kind to yourself on days you used to attack yourself. It looks like saying, "I'm struggling, and that's okay." When I was deep in overthinking, I thought something was wrong with me because I couldn't fix it. But what I really needed wasn't fixing. It was safety. Safety in my body. Safety in my thoughts. Safety in being human. Anxiety and depression don't mean you're weak. They mean your system has been under pressure for too long. And healing starts when you stop blaming yourself for the way your mind learned to survive. If you feel tired all the time, it's not because you're lazy. It's because your mind has been working overtime. If you feel stuck, it's not because you lack motivation. It's because fear has been louder than permission. And if you feel like progress is slow, please remember this. Slow healing is still healing. Right now, if you can, take a slow breath in and let it out gently. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're learning how to feel safe again. In the final part of this video, I want to leave you with something simple. Something you can carry with you on the days your mind feels heavy. Not advice, not pressure. Just a reminder that you are allowed to take up space even while you're healing. Before you leave this video, I want you to pause for just a moment. If this video helped you even a little, not in a dramatic way, not in a "my life is fixed" way, but in that quiet way where you felt understood, where something inside you softened, that matters. Because that means this wasn't just content for you. It was connection. If you feel comfortable, tell me in the comments. What do you overthink the most? Not to fix it, not to analyze it, just to name it. You'll be surprised how many people read that comment and think, wait, that's me too. Overthinkers often feel like they're the only ones struggling this way, like everyone else is calmer, stronger, more put together, but that's not true. There are so many people quietly fighting the same battles, and this space exists so you don't have to fight alone. So if you want more videos about mental clarity, emotional strength, self-improvement that doesn't pressure you, and healing that actually feels human, subscribe. Not because you need more information, but because you deserve a place where your inner world makes sense. I want to leave you with this, not as advice, but as permission. You don't need to fix your mind to live your life. You don't need perfect thoughts to take a step forward. And you don't need your fear's approval to choose yourself. You've been waiting for your thoughts to calm down. But life doesn't start after overthinking ends. Life starts while you're learning to carry it gently. If you ever feel like your mind is too loud, come back to this channel. Not for answers, but for reminders. Reminders that you're human, that you're not broken, and that healing doesn't mean silence. It means peace with the noise. I'll see you in the next video.